triggered because of alcohol. When the amygdala gets overwhelmed and is not controlling the emotional process, it gets hijacked, then all of a sudden we're in trouble.
The amygdala hijack. I love that. I love that phrase. I think it's really cool. And it's really descriptive. The amygdala, obviously, perhaps not obviously, I had to ask Professor Quick about it, that part of the brain that controls our emotions. When that gets out of control, it ends up controlling us. And to put a bow on this idea, Professor Quick gave me this Ray Rice-like example.
Like when Dave Thomas's vice chairman at Wendy's turned around and punched his wife, not Dave Thomas's wife, punched his own wife at a public event, and he hadn't been on alcohol. And Dave Thomas said, "I don't know what your problem is. You're fired, and you need help." And that's exactly what he needed.
So there you have it. Avoid the amygdala hijack initiated by the accelerant of alcohol. These are really volatile terms, hijacking and accelerant, something we usually associate with arson and setting things on fire. But it seems that really, when you think about it and you think about the really, really wild things that you've heard about, you may have witnessed, they are indeed exceedingly volatile types of conducts and can ruin careers and even worse. So now this answer, in its essence, really probably isn't anything terribly new, nothing that we haven't heard of before. And certainly it's led to some regrettable conduct and some regrettable words on the part of individuals who've been involved in this conduct. But again, not necessarily anything new in terms of its overall idea. As a matter of fact, my grandmother used to say, she used to say it this way: a drunk man speaks his sober thoughts. But I think it's still kind of cool to have a sense, a particular vision of the mechanical processes of the brain as it goes from one stage to another. And like other things in life, when we have a better understanding of how they work, then we can begin the process of managing it instead of, as Professor Quick talked about, it managing us. Mindfulness is the key. Don't carry that stuff around with you that's been building up, whether it's at work or at home. Write it out, work it off, go hit something. Jim Quick likes to hit little birds, you know, the kind that are used in badminton. Birdies, get it? Little birds. Anyway, I want to thank all of my contributors to this episode of Mindset: Professor James Quick, University of Texas, and for those listening to or staying tuned for the podcast portion that will follow immediately after the live broadcast, I had two other great conversations on this topic, so stay tuned for those. They relate to this topic. Interviews with Amy Maingault. She is the director of SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management. She's actually part of the reason I did a show on this topic in the first place. Amy was one of the folks who was interviewed for that NPR story that you heard an excerpt from at the top of the show. I also talked with another professor at University of Texas, and her name is Beverly George, and she teaches business and societal ethics there. And she calls a holiday party gone bad scenario that we've been talking about the iceberg that nobody sees till it's too late, of course. For Mindset, mental health news and information, I'm your host, James Curtis. Thanks so much for listening. Stay tuned for the podcast immediately following this. Mindset will be on hiatus until January 8th of 2015. Until then, dare to see mental health differently and keep up the fight.